I mentioned in my review of the Turtle Beach Elite Atlas that I thought it was one of the best headsets you can get for less than $100. Well, recently Turtle Beach has released a wireless version of that same headset that comes at just a slight price premium. And honestly, if you're looking to cut cords without breaking the bank, this might be one for you to consider. Technically today we'll be looking at two products, obviously the Turtle Beach Elite Atlas Aero, but also the Atlas Edge, which is an audio amplifier. It's effectively a 3.5mm to USB adapter, amplifies the audio, and also gives you access to the impressive suite of options available in Turtle Beach's new Control Studio software. If you already have a headset that you like and you want to use some of the features that I'm going to go over, then you can pick one of these bad boys up for about $30. And if you want the Elite Atlas Aero headset, then that can be found for around $150, but I should mention that I've recently seen it for less than $120. Regardless, if you want to pick up one of those by the end of this review, or any other products that we mention, then please check them out in the video description. You can find our affiliate links down there. The Turtle Beach Elite Atlas Aero shares a familial resemblance with the rest of the Elite lineup. This time around, they've completely revised the headband so it not only folds flat, but also folds in on itself. They've also removed any gloss finishes, but a few silver accents still remain. The big news here is the wireless connectivity that's achieved via a USB dongle that's included in the box. It has an internal battery that they say lasts for 30 hours, and a few power-saving features included, such as a timer that will shut off the headset if it's not used for 5 minutes. A lot of the other features are carryovers from previous editions of the headset, such as the Prospex glasses relief system, the removable microphone, the 50mm drivers. It's also widely compatible. It only functions wirelessly with PC using the included dongle, but they also include a cable that will allow you to use it with Xbox One, PS4, Nintendo Switch, or your mobile device. The major difference here, though, is that, as I mentioned, there's this really comprehensive new software that you can install on your PC and completely customize the headset and the behavior of the device to your heart's content. I, for one, like the look of the headset. I appreciate the fact that they removed any glossy finishes. It makes keeping the headset clean much easier. And I can, with some semblance of honesty, say that this is the first headset in a long time that I wouldn't be completely ashamed to wear in public. Now, I can't say that at all for 95% of the gaming headsets out there. This one, though, you remove the microphone and honestly, you've got a pretty solid pair of headphones. The ability to fold them in on themselves makes them much more transportable than any other Elite product, and that hinge feels incredibly sturdy. You'll find all the controls for the device on the left ear cup. There are 3 buttons and 2 dials. One dial controls the volume, the other controls the bias between chat and in-game audio, but that can be remapped. There's also a power button and a button that turns on and off the superhuman hearing function, but that also can be mapped to perform other functions as well. And finally, there is a mute button over there, which is really impossible to find. It's completely flush with the ear cup. Another quirk of the design is the fact that you can really only set it down one direction because the microphone's sticking out the other end, and when you set it down, it's going to completely change the dials. And when you're trying to adjust those dials, they're the exact same size, shape, and feel, and located within just a few millimeters of one another. Not a great design choice. One pretty cool thing, while we're still on the volume button, is the fact that it actually syncs to your system volume. So when you turn up the volume on the headset, it turns up on the computer and vice versa. You don't need to control the audio in 2 places. The audio quality is actually pretty good. I'd rate it within the upper 20th percentile for wireless headsets I've tested, and the upper 10th percentile for overall loudness. For a wireless headset, this thing gets pretty loud. The sound is very dynamic, and Turtle Beach has never had an issue hitting the lows, but I was impressed to hear how clear vocals and highs were, even with gunfire and explosions going on in the background. But that's just how it sounds right out of the box. if you download the software, which I highly recommend you do, you can customize the sound of this device to your heart's content. It's a pretty comfortable device. If you've ever used an Elite headset by Turtle Beach before, you know exactly how this one feels. The headband does seem to do a pretty good job of distributing the weight evenly over your entire head, and those foam ear cushions are soft and supportive. Now, I've said it before, but the ProSpecs glasses relief system actually works, and I know that sounds like just marketing jargon, but it really is a feature that I love about higher end Turtle Beach headsets. Essentially, you can take off the ear cup, which is held on with a couple of plastic tabs, and you can pull this little tab that will collapse part of the ear cushion down, which allows the arm of your glasses to rest in that channel that it makes. So you can easily remove and put on your glasses without having to take the headset off. The next most important thing after audio quality is the connection quality, and I'm happy to report that it actually functions really well. It never had any issues connecting to the computer, or I never experienced any disconnection, and also the range was pretty good. It was 20 to 30 feet through a couple of obstructions. One huge miss that I definitely feel the need to comment on is the fact that this does not have Bluetooth. The majority of other wireless devices that I've used have integrated Bluetooth on the headset itself, which allows you to sync your phone to the headset, and that is incredibly useful. If someone calls you, you can usually press a button and take the call without ever having to take the headset off. And when the call's done, press a button and go right back to your game audio. That's something I definitely have started to look for in a wireless headset. As I mentioned, it does have a wire for wired connections if you're in a situation where you can't use it wirelessly or on a platform that doesn't support it. Something to keep in mind, none of the controls on the headset itself will work when it's plugged in. Not even the volume knob. That does nothing. You have to use the inline controls, volume up, volume down, play, pause, and skip, and also have a built-in microphone, because not even the microphone on the headset will work when it's plugged in. You gotta use everything on the inline controls for that. The battery life essentially met my expectations. I know they said 30 hours of battery life, but I didn't see anything close to 30 hours. It was more 20 to 24 in my experience. On the verge of being a little bit too frequent, but you'll have to decide that for yourself, depending on how often you game and how inconvenient it is for you to have to plug it in. And I do like the auto off feature that after 5 minutes of no activity, it shuts off. However, you do need to manually turn it back on. Some other higher end wireless headsets I've used, they will turn off, and then once they register a sound signal, they will automatically turn themselves back on. This does not do that. You have to manually turn it back on every time. The microphone quality is pretty great, and it positions the microphone close enough to your mouth to pick up a clear signal. It performs well at directional pickup by only capturing what's in front of it and not what's around it. The filter on the front is a bit weak, so be careful how close you position it to your mouth. And because it's detachable, if you don't like it, you could always replace it with a more premium offering from Turtle Beach. All right, now let's get into the software, and I promise I'm going to go at a very high level, but even still, there are so many options here. If you're not interested in that, I'll put a timestamp below where you can skip ahead to the conclusion and get my recommendations, and I will also put down there the Cliff Notes provided by Turtle Beach. They're really not Cliff Notes, it's actually a very comprehensive guide on the software itself. But of course, if you do that, you will miss out on my impressions of the software, which I feel like I do have something valuable to add as far as navigating the software and things to look out for. Okay, let's get into it real quick. All right, first thing to be aware of, this only works with PC and only works with the Elite Atlas Aero or a headset using the Atlas Edge that I mentioned at the beginning of the review. When you first open up the software, make sure you download the newest version and that you update the firmware on the headset itself. Once that's done, you will see 3 tabs on the top: Dashboard, Audio Settings, and Macros. On the dashboard, the first thing you'll probably see is this game preset at the top. Now you can choose from one of the available 4 presets or save your own, and these affect the treble, bass, game dialogue level, and equalizer settings, and we'll get to the equalizer settings in just a minute. Next, you'll see global presets at the top right, and you can choose between default or saving your own, and the global preset changes all the other settings of the software, including which game preset is selected. Moving down the center column here, you have game treble boost, game bass boost, game dialogue level. And I didn't really think this would work, but it really does. And it's all done in software. It recognizes what's voices and what's not and turns them down. Honestly, if you have the option to change the dialogue levels in the game settings, I'd obviously recommend doing that instead of using this. And then at the bottom, you have the chat mixer, which will change the bias between chat levels in Discord or whatever you're using and the game audio level. What the f? Next, we have microphone settings, and the first one here is microphone volume, which effectively adjusts how sensitive your microphone is. You can also change the noise gate threshold. Now, a noise gate, for those that aren't aware, basically keeps your mic muted until a certain level of audio is detected. So if you have a bunch of background noise, but it's not that loud, you may want to utilize a noise gate, and this will allow you to change the threshold of where the noise gate will stop muting your microphone. And finally, we have variable mic monitoring, which is something I absolutely love. I really like isolating headphones, but the downside to them is if they don't have mic monitoring, you end up inevitably shouting at your teammates. You'll hear your own voice and you'll stop shouting at people, and you can change how much you hear your own voice by leveraging this setting. Master volume is up here on the top right. That's self-explanatory. The only thing to note is that it syncs to both the headset and the PC audio, which is pretty cool. Waves NX3D Audio is the surround sound software that they use. You can toggle this on and off, and it comes with 3 presets for game, music, and movies, which will tailor the surround sound experience to whatever you happen to be doing with it. But it kind of makes the sound feel a little bit more organic. Next is the game spatializer, which I don't know what it does in a technical sense, but I know in practice it essentially gives you a wider soundstage. This is a characteristic of open back headsets especially. Now, something to keep in mind here, you can't have the surround sound and the spatializer operating at the same time. And then there's the famed Superhuman Hearing. So you have the legacy version of Superhuman Hearing that if you've used it before, it should sound familiar to you. And they also included one for gunfire and one for footsteps. Now, the gunfire one made everything sound a little bit muffled and honestly wasn't very helpful because you're hearing gunfire from everywhere. The footsteps one definitely works. Like, it really amplifies the narrow band that a footstep is going to sound like. Other things may fall into that band and they will get amplified as well. So you'll have to kind of experiment with it in the game that you happen to be using it with and see if it's actually worth turning on. And finally, we have Chat Boost, which provides presets to change the way that your teammates sound. And here we have the customizable knob and customizable button. I'd recommend just leaving those as is. The only other thing I might recommend doing is changing the button to the surround sound toggle on and off. While a lot of these options are cool, they don't really make a whole lot of practical sense. Like, I don't think you really need a dedicated dial just for treble boost. I don't know. Maybe you do. The option's there if you want it. All right, dashboard is out of the way. Let's look at the audio settings, which again, unless you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of how you want this headset to sound, I recommend don't even bother with this page at all. You can basically think of this page as giving you a game equalizer, a chat equalizer, and a mic equalizer. The game equalizer is going to provide you with a 10-band EQ to modify the way the game sounds in your ears. Now, the same is true for chat equalizer. It gives you a 10-band EQ to fine-tune how everyone else's voice sounds to you. And then the mic EQ is the inverse. You can fine-tune how your voice sounds to everyone else. And when you're messing with the mic EQ, you actually get the option to record a brief sample of your audio to kind of experiment with how you're going to sound to everyone else. And then there's one more thing on this page that's like totally unrelated. It's the level that the Superhuman Hearing takes effect, how aggressive that feature is. And then there's the macros page, which there's not really a whole lot to talk about here. You can basically take any of the functions that the headset can perform and map those to various keystrokes. Obviously, you only have one button and one dial on the headset. If you want to be able to control all other features of the headset without having to open the software and configure it there, then you can map those to hotkeys. Now, even though I like this software, which is saying a lot because I don't usually like auxiliary software that comes with my devices, I like them to just kind of work out of the box, there are definitely some quirks. Even opening the software is a bit of a process. Instead of just clicking it, you have to right-click and select Open Tools, which is kind of annoying. Then once you open it, the first thing you see, obviously, are the game and global presets, and those are an absolute mess. Modifying a setting in one of the presets changes it permanently, which basically makes the save button redundant. You can close the program, you can restart your computer. If you modify anything on there while you're on one of the presets, it saves it there forever. The only way to unsave it or revert it back to when you actually saved it is to do it within the settings. I'm also not sure why they call it game preset instead of audio preset. Really, it's just audio preset. I mean, you could be doing any number of things with this headset besides gaming, and it gives the impression that somehow this only applies to maybe in-game settings, which isn't true at all. It's just audio settings. The equalizer is another point of concern. Now, you have already on the dashboard a bass and treble boost, and it's called a boost, but you can adjust it lower or higher than whatever the baseline is. If you go into the audio settings tab and you modify the equalizer there, it's going to augment whatever bass and treble changes you've made on the first page. If you don't know that, your headset's going to sound like absolute garbage and you may not know why. And finally, why in the world is the Superhuman Hearing level on a different page than the Superhuman Hearing toggle? They have sliders on every other option on this page. Why in the world did they move this to a completely different tab? At $150 and more recently at less than $120, I'm not exaggerating when I say that the Turtle Beach Elite Atlas Aero is possibly the best wireless headset for your money. With the exception of Bluetooth connectivity, which is a big miss for me personally, it has every other feature of the higher-end headsets that most people are going to care about at a fraction of the cost. And even though that software is a little bit finicky and has quite a steep learning curve, if you take the time to figure it out, man, there are a lot of pretty cool things you can do with it. The Atlas Edge is also an interesting product because it's designed for individuals who may already have a gaming headset that they really enjoy. For just $30, you can take your favorite gaming headset and have access to all of the wild customization options that I just mentioned. Any links that we've mentioned, any products we've mentioned in this video can be found using our affiliate links down in the video description below. And also, while you're down there, don't forget to enter our giveaway to win the Elite Atlas Aero. We are giving away one of those headsets to one of my lucky subscribers. We've had a pretty awesome year, and I want to say thank you to you guys and show my appreciation. And also, we have our new shirts, which are pretty cool. I'm actually really proud of these. They came out really good, showcase the channel pretty well, and of course, if you buy those, they help us out directly. If there's other potential reviews you want to watch, other headsets, keyboards, mice, those kind of things, of course, you can find them over here. And don't forget to subscribe so you know when our newest content is ready to watch. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.